Hello YouTubers, welcome to World Cinema Reviews. And boy do I have a treat for you. We are talking today about Ravenous. This is a 1999 film starring Guy Pearce, Robert Carlyle, and directed by the British director Antonia Bird. Now, this film I don't hear much about. It was not a box office hit at all. It basically it was a film that I was assigned to review as a young journalist back in 1999 when it came out. I remember attending a special screening for journalists, and it's it's a superb, awesome film. It's a little film that probably intended to be more, but I don't think it realized its full potential. But it's still a pretty good film. Why do people don't like it or didn't catch up to it? Yeah, this film is a film with a bite, and perhaps the subject matter of the film turns off a lot of people. And when we talk about what the film is about, you completely gonna get my drift. Okay? So this film started with quite a bit of difficulty from the very beginning. But let's before I talk about the problems by its thing, it's fair to say that word to the wise, this is a delicious entree. For those who like it, but it could be really turn off because of that subject matter. Having said that, this movie is in part about cannibalism, you know, which is frowned upon in our society. Quoting Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and probably nobody quotes that, but I thought that that line was funny. So it is frowned upon, and the movie is basically about this guy Boyd, played by Pierce, going into um, basically he's just been he's sort of a war hero, and the reason he's taught as a war hero is because he just couldn't stand the bloodshed of war. He gets disgusted. He was a part of the Texan army in the Mexican American War, and what happens is that he goes there and basically he completely falls apart and plays dead. He doesn't want any part of the battle, and turns out they lost the battle. And he just plays dead. He gets stacked on a body of on top, basically on the bottom of a dead pile, left to rot, thinking he was dead. But the incredible thing about it is that he goes and and through a device that later becomes a part of the film. He gains strength. Goes behind enemy lines. Of course, he's there, and when they're not looking, he kills the soldier, and then he captures the general, and actually gets surrendered. That's why he gets called a hero, but he's really not. So our protagonist here. So I'm not sure I can call him a hero. In fact, this movie is all about anti-heroes, and the realistic thing of a human condition, but more on that later. So what happens is that he gets sent as a punishment because he basically can't stomach. He can't even eat, rare meat, in a steak dinner, honoring the soldiers. He can't even eat meat anymore because he sees the blood and remembers, the horrors of war. So he gets sent to this remote place in California where, reminiscent of something that this movie is based on, which is, the Donner's Party, the incident where actual people got marooned in the middle of in the middle of the Sierra Nevada mountains, California, and they were left with no food and intense cold, and they were forced to resort to cannibalism. And but what happens is that in this place where, by the way, this movie is so wonderfully told. I love the soundtrack. It's just the atmosphere. It's fantastic. You guys just gotta hear just the soundtrack alone. It's just fantastic because it really brings you to those times, and it has also like a Native American edge there, which actually plays a big part on this on the movie. So what happens is that this number of soldiers there, quirky soldiers and people that are kind of misfits in there, included a very quirky David Arquette who kind of does odd jobs in there at the fort in California, and he's a peyote. He makes a big friendship with the Native American there so that they can both smoke peyote, and it's just hilarious. And other quirky characters such as a hardcore soldier that takes bath in a cold river. I mean, really cold river with freezing river, and and another one that is just drunk and a frustrated commander, and they're all just very quirky, very quirky people. Even though it's not really well developed, as characters, and more why that happened later, but the it's still a fantastic film because what then happens is just great. Turns out that Robert Carlyle enters the picture here, where one night he comes in and appears to be suffering a frostbite. It's invited in by the inhabitants of the fort, and they start to try to revive him, through a warm bath and helping him and everything. And what turns out, just to be a fantastic spot, he reveals that he has been exposed to the horrors of the California, river. I mean, of the California weather, and as he's being exposed to that weather, he actually gets to know that that he reveals, I'm sorry, that he had to resort to cannibalism because there was just no food, and something happened that when he ate, his and some of the survivors ate, um, they ate the person who died of frostbite, and then they recovered their strength and they started to get this unnatural hunger, and little by little, after it was just a thing of survival, it became a murdering game where when a commander officer in Robert Carlyle's post there, started to eat the other people, kill them and eat them, and slowly they all ate, but then he became one of the last survivors, one of the last three, and there was a woman and the commander and him, and basically he decided that he was going to definitely escape, and he did, and he's telling a tale that they both have to rescue the woman that's at the mercy of this man, and they all go, they get armed and they go look for him, but during one of the at night when they're camping, one of the person gets injured and develops a wound, and he can't help himself, and he develops this hunger sensation and starts licking the man's wound, drinking his blood, and then he's bound and arrested, and they still go looking for this man, and that's where I'm going to leave it because it's just as fantastic. The twist that happens are awesome, and let me tell you, with one of the coolest thing is the legend of Wendigo. Wendigo is a Native American legend portrayed here, saying that when somebody resorts to cannibalism, he doesn't eat only the man's flesh, but he gets the man's spirit, his life force, his power. And the curse is that even though you become this superhuman killer, you will develop thirst, a thirst and hunger, a ravenous, which means very, very hungry, starving, that you will do anything to feed yourself. And when Carlisle gets this incredible hunger, he can't stop himself, and that's what he was trying to say. So he was as an excuse, and that may come to play with Boyd, I may come to play with others, and I'm going to leave that to you just so you can know. But this is both really creepy and really visionary, because the movie is actually trying to portray a very different things, trying to talk about manifest destiny. Back then, back then the United States wanted to expand and will do anything to expand, and the more territory they got, the more they get pleased. So it's kind of a thing that is portrayed, and it's actually a very cool metaphor how you can see that once you get something, your greed, your hunger for more, will kill indiscriminately just to get your way. And it's kind of a deep meaning, but it's really well throughout the film. Um, the ending is how it should be. The movie is how it should be. However, it does have. Why did this movie didn't become the coolest thing since sliced bread? Well, now it's finally garnering some follow-up, but more on that later. But this movie was really, really, intended to be a major thing, but there was a change of director. The British director was called later, suggested by the great Scottish actor Robert Carlyle here, um, and he she took over and made it great, um, but she complained of many things not being able to do. I think that if there was more character development, and if it wasn't, I think people believed that this was more of a kind of a Holocaust type of deal. And there are some very graphic scenes involving cannibalism, but they don't ruin the fineness of the film. I believe that this is, Roger Ebert really liked it. In fact, the one of the best reviewers that ever lived, in my opinion, and in opinions of a lot of people. And but it went misunderstood. Now it's finally gathering some cult following. I definitely recommend it. Great, great acting. Acting by Guy Pearce from LA Confidential film, which I love. LA Confidential. Maybe I may do a review on that film one day, because I do love film noir, and I love homages to film noir. And Carlisle, from Trainspotting, awesome film, and an awesome film, the Full Monty, and 28 Weeks Later, which is one of the very cool horror sequels, which I should talk about later. Perhaps I'll do my next video on that. But I really, really, think that I recommend this film. If you're squeamish, you may be turned off by a few scenes, but something you can fast forward, and it won't kill the overall action of the film, I think. And to me, this is an A film. It could have been an A plus film if the director had been given more leeway, and he would have given the project in the very beginning. However, as it stands, this is really cool horror entry, which could, and it has a very deep meaning, about manifest destiny, about the hunger of man. And I hope you enjoy this review. Take care and enjoy Ravenous. Bon appetit.